Hi, my name is Josh Madoff, and I'm a composer for film and television. Today I have the great honor to introduce to you the instrument that has probably had the greatest impact on my life and career of anything I've ever owned, the MPE controller, synthesizer, and tiny powerhouse that is the Haken ContinuuMini. Don't let its small size and simple form factor fool you. The ContinuuMini is a sophisticated and powerful instrument, and it might be the most sensitive and well-calibrated ribbon controller ever made. Underneath the surface are 4 finely tuned Hall effect sensors, each sampled with a 14-bit AD converter, which is 64 times more accurate than a standard 8-bit controller. The ContinuuMini has the same speed of response as the Continuum, the same accuracy of pitch, and it is incredibly sensitive to pressure. This preset is just a simple sine wave, where left to right controls pitch and the pressure controls the volume. But thanks to the ContinuuMini's microscopic sensitivity to my finger's pressure and position, it's possible to get incredibly expressive and emotive performances out of even the most basic sound. This is not a tiny continuum. It is its own instrument with its own special feel and sound. Now this preset has the same left to right control of the pitch with pressure controlling the volume. But now pressure is also controlling the brightness of the sound. So as I press, the sound gets brighter, and as I release, the sound gets darker. I've also added some reverb from the internal effects engine. Underneath the surface, in addition to the Hall effect sensors, there are springs giving me continuous feedback as I press and release. It's the combination of this physical feedback with the unbelievably sensitive surface of the ContinuuMini that allows for orchestral levels of dynamics and expression. And when you venture into the world of more traditional synth sounds, this level of sensitivity and physical control makes the process of creating massive soundscapes extremely visceral and immediate. There's also a feature called rounding that can assist you with playing in tune. It can be set directly from the ContinuuMini's menu or from the free Haken editor. With rounding turned off, exactly where you place your finger is the pitch you will get. And then you can use your ears and these lights and roll your finger to get it perfectly in tune. When you turn rounding on, you can decide how quickly the pitch returns to perfect tuning based on how high you set it. With rounding at 100%, all of your pitches will be quantized. You can also decide whether or not your initial attack is rounded to a perfect pitch. With the sound like single reed, I like to keep the rounding at 0, which gives it a much more realistic representation of how a single reed instrument is played. A clarinetist's note will always start just slightly out of tune, but a good player will make a split-second adjustment to move the note to the correct pitch. That split-second correction is one of the things that make acoustic instruments sound so soulful and alive. The ContinuuMini doesn't just take super accurate measurements of your finger's left to right position and pressure, it also has incredible sensitivity on the y-axis. However, the y-axis of the ContinuuMini is extremely narrow, so for many presets, this just adds a very human quality, ensuring that you can never touch the ContinuuMini's surface the same way twice. But for other sounds, you might want more control over that y-axis, and this is where the mini lever comes in. When you hold down notes, the mini lever can be used to sweep up and down the y-axis with great control. The lever can also be used to lock the surface into a specific part of the y-axis, as well as a specific depth. This can be especially useful for percussion sounds. As a side note, the mini lever can be removed and stored snugly in the pedal port for travel and storage. Just remember to remove it before powering on the ContinuuMini. You can play up to 2 notes at a time from the surface of the ContinuuMini, but you're limited to one single dynamic. Personally, I see this as a feature, not a flaw. Let's look at this preset, Yuki Pits. If you pitch it down 2 octaves, it makes a great sounding electric bass. When you're playing 2 notes at a time, the ContinuuMini will default to the dynamics of the note you're playing the hardest. So if I hold down a note with my left hand and then I play another note an octave higher, I can get a slap bass sound. And then if I play 2 notes at the same time but press softly, I can get these lovely sounding tenths. You can also utilize the single dynamics of the Duotactic surface to get beautiful results with guitar-like pluck sounds. Let's take a look at this lap steel preset. You can get these wonderful and expressive 2-note slides. And when you combine duotactic techniques using different sounds, you can build lush soundscapes with just a handful of presets. The extreme sensitivity of the surface leads to so many tiny variations in each performance, which makes it feel more like a band of musicians playing together, rather than just 4 tracks of one synthesizer. Every sound you've heard so far has been from the ContinuuMini's internal sound engine, the EaganMatrix. The ContinuuMini comes with over 500 internal presets. This sound engine is part of a complex ecosystem that links the sound, the performer, and the instrument in a perpetual feedback loop. In this context, the EaganMatrix is more than just a sound engine. Each preset defines a series of complex interactions within this ecosystem. Every patch point in the matrix can be programmed to have anywhere from 0 human input to being completely under the control of a human finger, and anywhere in between. It's also possible to connect up to 2 different MIDI controllers to the ContinuuMini at once. Right now I have the Nano Control 2 connected, and I've mapped it using MIDI CCs to control various parameters of the sound engine. These 6 knobs control the macros, which is the fastest way to drastically change and shape a preset. This is the pre-gain and this is the post-gain. Now once the pre-gain gets cranked up past a certain threshold, it starts acting as a wave-folding distortion. So I'm gonna hold down a chord, turn the post down, crank the pre, and now you hear that beautiful distortion. I have these three faders mapped to the tan H distortion, which offers a very different kind of saturation. So let's turn the pre back down a bit. And finally, these faders are controlling the internal effects engine. And when you create a sound you like, you can store it in one of the 128 user preset slots, directly from the ContinuuMini's menu or using the editor. You can also store as many presets as you like onto your computer. The EaganMatrix also handles pedals in a very unique way. So I'm going to play a note on the surface of the ContinuuMini. Now I'm going to grab this note with the pedal. The first thing you'll notice is that I have 0 to 127 control with my foot. But what you're hearing is not actually sustain, it's sostenuto, meaning I can still play the ContinuuMini and the new notes will not be grabbed by the pedal. And the EaganMatrix actually has 2 sostenutos. So I have this knob mapped to sostenuto number 2. Let's grab a second little chord. Now I have dynamic control of that second chord with this knob, and I can still play on top of it. With the latest firmware, it's now possible for instrument designers to create what are called overlays for the ContinuuMini, which makes sound design in the EaganMatrix even more accessible and opens up an entire universe of new sonic possibilities. Let's take a look at an overlay called Loris by Christophe Duquesne. It uses a process called Resynthesis, where Loris will analyze an audio recording and then it fills in that analysis with sine waves so that you can replay it on the ContinuuMini using the voice of a synthesizer. Let's use this fun telephone carbon mic to make a quick recording.
ContinuuMini.
Now I'm using Loris to create an analysis of the recording.
ContinuuMini. ContinuuMini. ContinuuMini.
Once the analysis is done, you can choose from one of these Loris presets and tweak your sound from there. And now I have a Loris preset made from that audio recording that I can play with on the ContinuuMini. Even without its MPE capabilities, the EaganMatrix is one of the most powerful and flexible digital synth engines available. And even though you can only play 2 notes at a time from the surface of the ContinuuMini, when you connect other controllers to it, you can get up to 8-note polyphony depending on the preset. And of course, I can split up that polyphony however I choose. I'm controlling an internal preset of the ContinuuMini with the key step, and the expression pedal is assigned to macro 3. Now I've triggered a sequence from the key step, and using the extra polyphony, I can add a bass line from the Korg Nano key and play a melody from the surface of the ContinuuMini. What you're hearing is a single performance from one instance of one preset on the ContinuuMini. It's also possible to connect a Tri-Octave pedal with the ContinuuMini, giving you the ability to switch between 3 different octaves with your feet. You can order the complete setup from Haken Audio with a custom pedal tray, or simply assemble your own using 2 Yamaha FC5s and a Y cable. The EaganMatrix also has a wonderful set of generative presets. Some of them offer the ability to control certain aspects of the sound, while others are completely autonomous. The way I like to look at it, Ed Egan has included a beautiful ambient album that you can interact with inside of the EaganMatrix, and each song will always be slightly different every time you hear it. Let's play one of these beautiful generative presets and take a look at the internal effects engine. There's a long reverb, short reverb, modulated delay, swept delay, analog echo, digital delay with low pass filter, and digital delay with high pass filter. The ContinuuMini can also be used to control your hardware and software synthesizers. Let's start by looking at some MPE-capable software synths. Now I can't think of a better place to start than Cherry Audio's Miniverse. It's a software emulation of a classic Mini Moog. This is what it sounds like using a traditional MIDI keyboard. I can open the filter with Aftertouch, pitch bend, when I click on this MPE button, you can see how I'm going to control it with the ContinuuMini. I have Z, or pressure, assigned to opening and closing the cutoff frequency of the filter, and Y to the amount of contour. I also have pressure slightly increasing the frequency of oscillators 2 and 3. Now with the ContinuuMini, and inside of Ableton, you can see that Ableton captured all the pressure information, the Y-axis, or what Ableton calls slide, and all of the pitch information. And it's very easy to edit it after the fact. So for example, if I want this pitch bend to come in slower, I can just draw in a custom curve. Now this is the DCO 106, also by Cherry Audio. It's a recreation of the classic Juno 106. So you can hear it opening and closing the filter as I press. And if I hit octave up, it's going to maintain this low note, but the rest of the fingerboard changes. And what's really fun about the software realm is that without any extra setup, I'm not really limited to controlling just one synth with the ContinuuMini. So now I'm controlling both the DC0106 and the Miniverse from the ContinuuMini. It's also possible to use your ContinuuMini to control non-MPE synthesizers using MIDI CCs. With the latest firmware, you can now assign pressure and the Y-axis to any MIDI CC you want. And you can even set custom ranges. You can also set a custom pitch bend range for the ContinuuMini to match your synthesizer. And all of this can be done directly from the menu of the ContinuuMini or inside the Haken editor. This means that you can now use the ContinuuMini to have expressive control of any hardware or software synthesizer that has MIDI CC controls for its sound engine. We already tried out the Miniverse, so I think it's only appropriate that now we try the Moog Minitar. The Minitar doesn't have any MPE capabilities. I've assigned pressure to MIDI CC7, which controls the VCA or volume of the Minitar. As I press, it gets louder, and as I release, it gets quieter. And I've set the Y-axis to CC19, which controls the cutoff frequency of the filter or the brightness. So you can hear as I roll up and down the Y-axis, it gets brighter and duller. And finally, I've set the pitch bend rate to 24 semitones and matched that on the Minitar. Now I have the ContinuuMini connected to my Dave Smith Instruments Prophet 08, which also has no MPE capabilities. I have the pitch bend rate set to 12, which is the maximum pitch bend range of the Prophet. The Y-axis is assigned to CC74, which opens and closes the filter. And finally, pressure is assigned to CC7, which controls overall volume. So you can hear the filter opening and closing along the Y-axis. Pressure is controlling volume, and of course, pitch. I've been practicing the ContinuuMini for over 6 years now, and I'm still constantly discovering new sounds and possibilities. This is a true musical instrument, and it'll give back to you in abundance whatever dedication you put into it. If you're interested in learning more about my ContinuuMini practice routines and techniques, you can check out my ContinuuMini practice video on the Haken Audio website. I've put a link in the description. The ContinuuMini also has 2 mounting holes on the back, which are great if you want to design a custom stand. I had an adjustable stand built, which is great for placing the ContinuuMini directly in front of a piano or a keyboard. And I made this simple stand myself, which holds my ContinuuMini at the perfect position in the center of my composing rig. Another wonderful thing about the ContinuuMini is that if you're eventually interested in getting a Continuum, practicing the ContinuuMini will give you a tremendous head start. Thanks to all of my ContinuuMini practice, I found myself quite comfortable when I eventually got my hands on a Continuum. That being said, the ContinuuMini is a powerful and unique instrument in its own right, and it's capable of creating sounds that are impossible on any other instrument, including the Continuum. And unlike the Continuum, it's extremely portable. I'd also like to add that Haken Audio is constantly adding new features to the ContinuuMini and their other instruments. Each new firmware, which is always released for free, comes with new presets, new features, and various improvements, and again, always for free. On a personal note, the ContinuuMini has had a greater impact on my life and career than any other instrument I've owned. It opened up a universe of possibilities to me for performance, production, and sound design, and it set me down a lifelong path of exploration. When you have an instrument with this microscopic level of sensitivity, paired with a powerful and flexible sound engine that was designed to fully exploit that sensitivity, you find yourself creating new sounds and performance possibilities that are so unique, you might be the first person to ever hear them. And now that I've experienced it, I can't live without it. On that note, I'd like to thank you so much for joining me on this little tour of the incredible ContinuuMini. Don't forget to like and subscribe so you don't miss out on any of the exciting new developments from Haken Audio, as well as educational videos and helpful tutorials. Until next time, happy practicing.